Hi, Friday 5K here. In this episode of my Point of View virtual race experience, I attend the 4th annual Pilgrim's Prance, where the only entry fee was appreciation. The race took place on Thanksgiving morning, November 28th, 2013. It was hosted by Kyle Kempster and Kevin Ardema, with help from several others. The race took place at Coast Guard Park in Ferrysburg, Michigan. You had the option to run a 5K or a 10K. This racer chose the 10K. As always, place your video playback device on or near your treadmill and enjoy.
Go, Pilgrim, go!
Gotta go document this Pilgrim. You said you marked it. You didn't mark the parts that were obvious trails, huh? Oh.
What's different this morning?
Fresh powder. If we were skiers, we'd be all excited
Love
about
it.
I think I got it pretty well memorized.
I'm following you now.
We'll muddle through. Assuming you guys stayed on the trail.
Yeah. See, it's finished.
When I pause to make sure you get ahead of me. Well, there you go. A brief conversation at the beginning of the Pilgrim's Prance between myself and Steve Harden, honorary Pilgrim from the previous year, having won the 3rd annual Pilgrim's Prance, is my understanding. I didn't attend the 3rd annual Pilgrim's Prance. Joking with him that there's no way I was going to attempt to win this race and be the one having to wear the Pilgrim's outfit the following year. Truth is, though, as you'll see if you do watch the entire video, try as I might, I was not able to beat Steve and Pilgrim Steve and his Pilgrim-powered race suit. Pause there. But it was an enjoyable event, and I think everyone had a good time. We had, looks like 4 to 5 inches, maybe even 6, I'm not sure, of fresh snow the night before the race. And the markings, the flags were out there. There was paint on trees. A few locations, I think there were arrows on the ground, which you were unable to see. Anyway, we'll watch the video. I'll watch the video with you and pipe in where I think there's something relevant to say. But for the most part, it's a run that you can enjoy on your treadmill. A snowy run. If you can see in the upper right-hand corner, I've added the effect of a rear view mirror. I had a ability to see behind me once the production's done. And this woman here, who I did not get her name, she ended up winning the race. I went up upon doing the production. I had no idea she was this close behind me for this long. I mean, she's basically left several of the other guys, including the Pilgrims, in the dust. And she kept up with me for quite a while, as you can see. So good for her. She ended up winning the 10K. Very impressive feat. Well, winning it for the women, that is. Not that that makes it any less impressive. In the lower left-hand corner, if you notice, is a graphic of a GPS device. Most of the stats on the GPS device are self-explanatory. There's miles per hour, average pace, which is minutes per mile. That is average throughout the entire event. So at any given moment, it's showing the average at that point. Basically time divided by distance. In the lower left-hand corner of the GPS device is the total distance traveled at that point. And then in the upper left-hand corner is a statistic, a bit of data that's of my own creation. It represents a forecast of what's coming up. Basically, it's feet elevation in feet per minute, and it's stating a minute from this point, how much higher or lower will I be as I run this event. I always think that's more relevant than grade. I don't have any idea what grade means. I mean, I understand that a 10% incline is steeper than a 2% incline, but I don't know how that feels. But what I kind of do know how something feels is if I have to climb a hill and that hill's 30 feet high and I have a minute to do it, I can kind of estimate what that feels like, especially when you start thinking that a story in a building, like a one-story building, two-story building, we can use approximately 10 feet to represent that. So if you're going to, be 30 feet lower a minute later, that's dropping 1 story in elevation every 20 seconds. That's something I can wrap my head around. So that's why I included that statistic. I don't know if it's helpful to you as you watch this video. It might be completely irrelevant. But what it also does is a lot of times when I'm climbing a hill, all you see in the camera is me looking square into the ground. Well, at least now you know why. You can kind of see, if you see that I'm going to go up 50 feet in the next minute, that you're probably going to be looking at the ground for the next minute. Anyway, coming up here on the first major intersection where I had to navigate, they had that one clearly marked as we go from trail or point 3 to point 4. Frankly, that's why I like Coast Guard Park more than Hoffmaster Park for running. Though I have, both trail systems memorized now for the most part, I think it makes more sense to mark a trail by referencing the intersection than trying to name the trail. At Coast Guard Park, they reference every intersection with a number, and you're trying to get from intersection to intersection as you do your directions. At Hoffmaster, they label the trails with a number, and I don't think that's nearly as helpful. Anyway, here we are, taking the more difficult route on trail 3 to 4, or points, after I go over that detail. Anyway, from intersection 3 to intersection 4. You had another option. It's a little longer, but, well, we didn't. They marked the course, but chose the more difficult route. Good times. I did notice at the race a plethora of yak tracks, and though I guess they can be effective, boy, people are probably tired of me preaching about this, but I think there's an easier way, and I think most people have, I don't know about most people, but many people have run across it. I really think that dedicating a pair of shoes to winter and trail running conditions and buying a box of sheet metal screws. I use the 3/8-inch sheet metal screws and driving them in point first right into the bottom of your shoe. And I use, I don't know, 10 maybe per shoe. And I've read articles online that talk about using like 15, 20, and I think that's excessive. Matter of fact, what I like to do is I take a pair of running shoes that I've used in the summer months on road surfaces, hard surfaces, and I look for the wear patterns on the edge of the shoe. I don't go into the center of the shoe because I did that before. I did that at the Fallsburg half marathon this year. I put some screws in my shoes for the trail conditions and drove one right in the center of the ball of my foot. And I felt that constantly for 13 miles. Not enough to puncture the skin, but every step of the way I felt a poke in the center of my foot. So anyway, back to what I was saying. You look for the wear patterns on the edge of the shoe and drive the screws in the thickest areas where those wear patterns are. I mean, I think the logic of this makes absolute sense, that where your foot comes to rest, where you're going to need the traction, is where you've worn the shoe out. Now, what I'm saying here is I use the same shoe that I destroyed in the summer months for my winter running. You can, if you buy the exact same shoe, put the screws in advance. And probably even with almost any shoe. What I like, though, is I can actually match the exact pattern up if I buy the exact same shoe. So anyway, that's what I do. 10 solid screws placed along the edges in the wear pattern. And if you're running with air shoes or any gel shoes, make sure to avoid those areas of the midsole. The Nike Airs that I run with don't have any air in the ball of the foot, which I promote running on that at almost all costs. Matter of fact, when the volume's turned up on these running videos, you can frequently hear my metronome going off in the background at 100. Well, frankly, I've now turned it up to 187 strides a minute, especially for races. I preach, and a lot of people talk about it. Getting that cadence to 180 strides a minute is extremely important, and I couldn't agree more. I don't think if there's one variable that every runner should adopt, it's finding a way to make sure that they run at 180 strides a minute or more. Now, I always preach 180 strides a minute, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, that's the minimum number. And I state it because it's easy to wrap your head around. 180 strides a minute. As long as you're doing that or better, the number of injuries that are going to occur for a runner running at 180 strides a minute are negligible compared to those who run at a much slower rate. So anyway, I buy a metronome. You can get them off Amazon, $5. Set that thing to 180 strides a minute, clip it to my hat, and beep, 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 away I go. I've been doing that for years. And I think it's not only made me... I do believe that it can make you a faster runner. It increases efficiency, gets you to recognize not pulling your feet so far off the ground. So it becomes a more efficient stride. It also, because you don't get your heel out in front of you, there's no braking action. I mean, if you think about it, you kick out that foot in front of you and strike heel first, you're physically in the act of slowing down and braking until such time as your center of gravity gets over that heel and you can start pushing off on the ball of your foot. So why skip the middleman? Why land on the heel? You don't get any driving force from your heel. Your heel's not propelling you forward. Listen, I'm no running expert. I've any expertise that I can claim is just from doing it for years. So anyway, there's no driving force from the heel. All the driving force takes place from the toe and the ball of the foot. That's the only place you can push off. So like I'm saying, let's skip the middleman. Let's skip the heel action and get right back to the ball of our foot and drive off for the next stride. You set a metronome and listen to that metronome at 180 strides a minute. It's almost impossible to get that heel out in front of you. So that means almost all your actions are propelling you forward. So on top of the benefits of health, doing less damage to your joints, your knee especially, you also get the benefit of always propelling yourself forward, which becomes more efficient. On top of that, if you can stay healthy, you can train harder to run faster. Anyway, that's a bit of it in a nutshell. I don't know if it makes sense or if it even belongs in this video. Anyway, doing pretty well here in the race, I guess. Can no longer see anybody in my rearview mirror. But that will not last. This is the classic goat trail action. This trail right here is about 2 feet wide, and I think I even took a few missteps and almost slid down that hill. That would have been an experience. This section at Coast Guard Park from intersection 12 to intersection, I believe it's 10, it's one of the least traveled intersections for me, and I frequently get lost here when I attempt to do it in the summer. Mostly because I feel that it should be shorter than it is. It's one of the most difficult areas, most underrated and difficult areas on the Coast Guard Park trail course. You're up on a ridge almost the entire time, a lot of ups and downs. Here's a prime example of one. See, this is it exactly. As I head down this path, I always think I'm further than I am. And I found it interesting that you can see in the graphic there on the lower left-hand side that this is one of the few areas where my GPS readings don't line up with the trail map. And I don't know if there's some kind of intuitive understanding of this, if there's a mistake in the map, or if my Garmin was reporting erroneously. But I swear that's what I feel is always wrong with this area, that it's like going through the wardrobe and finding a whole new land. It's seriously doesn't feel right. It's easy to become disoriented in this area. Maybe a little less so here in the winter where everything is open and you can see, but you can see this is pretty densely forested. You've probably figured it out by now, but you're welcome to turn down the audio track and just look at the visuals. I'm talking over it. Thought maybe there'd be something to say, but I can fully understand if listening's not what you're interested in doing. Listen to your own music and watch my head bob as we run through the woods. Maybe that's more appropriate. This race was pretty well attended by well-known Friday 5Kers. We had, now that I say that, but I saw Shannon Mitchell, who's attended, Steve Jablonski, Mike Shavala, Tiana Bennett, Bob Bennett, Courtney Hansen. Trying to remember. I think there were some others. Okay. Here we are. I am in first place. Beautiful. But no idea where to go. Let's listen as chaos ensues. All right, Steve, where do we go? I don't see any flags that way, but I see flags that way. That way's 211. Did you for sure get 211?
I didn't mark this half the course. I was out here running for snow and after they did the signs.
Oh, there's a flag.
There you go. Get out of here, Wilson.
Ah, come on. This has to be a little out and back for this part.
Are those socks or is snow sticking to your legs?
Socks. I think the snow is sticking a bit though.
I want to know the answers to the important questions.
The guy asking that question, I never got his name. He ended up coming in, let's call it fourth, though I'm not sure that there was, strict place settings. But the other person running back there, the other two running there are Steve Harden, who's wearing the Pilgrim outfit, cracking me up, and Richard Stevens, who is becoming an extremely strong runner here in West Michigan, giving me a run for my money constantly now, and in fact has beaten me the last two times we've met. We were in the same woods. Oh, what was that? November 2nd, at the beginning of the month, running the Hoffmaster Trail Turkey Trot or Trail Turkey something trail. So anyway, he ran that and was ahead of me and did a great job. So good job to Richard Stevens for working hard. There's a Mark Robillard says hi. Hey Mark. Doing well? All right. Oh, I see what's going on. Here we go.
A turn.
Yeah, my wife's gonna catch us. Which isn't really that bad of a thing.
She doesn't have to navigate though.
That's true.
Now, the wife he mentions is that woman in yellow, I believe,
It's okay, I didn't eat my face anyway.
who ended up winning for the women. I never got their name, so maybe I'll find that later. But good job to both of them. Running couple.
At least it wasn't a ski race.
Both doing a great job. Yeah, it's funny. You can still see Steve back there. Pilgrim power. Ah, another wrong direction. Here we go. Running the ridge. See, look how nice I am there. There was a branch covered with snow. I could have shaken that, made a miserable experience for those behind me.
Oh no. Oh no, my back. I got my slide on.
So here you can see we transition to the rear view as my forward-facing camera quit working on me. I kind of like this. I feel like it's the Wizard of Oz almost there. Something's very reminiscent about that. Steve's kind of looking like Scarecrow. Shortly I have another mishap which costs me the lead, where I drop my metronome. Oh, my metronome. I think it's gone. And there you go. I'm not quite sure how long that was. I'm saying about another 15 seconds. Oh well. And off went the pack. The lead pack left me behind. That is why it's called a race. And as efficient as a metronome can make you, it's not going to make up for falling in the snow and spending approximately 15 seconds having to look for it. It would be nice if we could see how far ahead they were. Mostly they were still within sight. I kept up with them for a while. And I'm not taking away anything from Steve or Richard. They are accomplished runners. At any given moment, you know, they're going to beat me in a race on any given day. As I've said, Richard has beaten me the last few times we've met, especially in the trails. Steve and I have been within seconds of each other at several races, so good for them. Very strong West Michigan runners. And I cringe every time I see them at a race. Always happy to see them, but nonetheless, it makes my day a little more difficult. Especially with Steve, I tell you. You know, we're in the same age group, which is annoying. At least Richard basically is a kid from my perspective. I think he's 34 years old. Anyway, I always joke that if you spend much time racing in the West Michigan area, you'll probably run across the name road. I don't even... Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll skip that. We'll save that for another time. If you do have any questions about running or races or just about anything that you want me to discuss, I'd be happy to do it. So send your questions. Look for the contact information at fridayfivek.com, and maybe your comments will be in the next video. I thought about putting this portion of the video in reverse if you're actually using it on your treadmill. But ultimately, I'm documenting these because I find it entertaining, and maybe years from now they'll still be on YouTube and I can take a look at them and see when I used to be able to run. Maybe that's how I'll feel. Plus, this race, I had to get out there and do this one. Not only was the price right, and that's greatly appreciated, but to run in the trails in 6 inches of snow is an experience which I don't get to do often. Not because I can't go run in the trails when there's snow, but unless there's something motivating me, I'm not going to. Once that snow falls, I should typically leave the trails behind for road running and treadmill running. I will say that watching this video, I know this trail system better than I know any trail system. And even looking at the map right now, I cannot picture where I am as I watch this in reverse. I think that's probably because heading off into this sandy area, which I almost never run. I usually find myself just running the shortest distance between Hoffmaster and Coast Guard Park. There's a whole other area which the trail's predominantly sand. There's a lot of tall grasses, especially in the summer, that can frequently be less than enjoyable to run. Anyway, it's beautiful this time of year. Look at that. Snow-covered trails. I know that hill. That is one of the steepest descents on the course, and I typically cheat it by going off to the other side and taking a less steep route down the hill, but that wasn't marked and I didn't feel it was appropriate. I felt, even in these low-key races, you try to do what's right, or what seems right to you at the time. Makes me curious. I wonder how many people actually ran the 10K and what kind of experience they're having at this point. I do find it interesting to see just how close you are to civilization. You're out running in these trails and, you know, you see the signposts and you realize that they're well-traveled trails. But you like to escape into the sense that you're in an area that's, you know, exclusively traveled by you, for example. And you look and you see here on the satellite image that really I'm 30 feet away, no, 30 yards away from an entire subdivision. Anyway, you can see how sandy this area is. You can imagine that in the summer, all open like that. Poor running conditions. Nothing well, I don't dislike running in sand, but it definitely is difficult to get any traction and it slows you down. Makes for dead, tired legs, that's for sure. Hey! I gotta learn that guy's name. I don't think he slowed down at all. I know I was kicking it to try to catch the leaders who are still within sight ahead of us. And I think those guys picked it up. I think Richard and Steve took off running on us. I do remember trying to calculate the odds of catching them at this point. Felt it was pretty slim. You know, runners that are of equal strength and or abilities, and giving them a 15-second lead, that's going to make it difficult. And I didn't know what trail we were going to run to get back to the end, and didn't know what kind of conditions we'd have. So I thought I'd stay within sight, but here shortly we take a turn, and I don't know what happened, if they knew I disappeared, and they just took off, because I never saw them again until the end. For all I know, I went the wrong way. Who really knows? Another thing I will recommend is that you don't watch this video on full screen. Try as I might to stabilize it, focus my head on, you know, a point, and then run it through software to make it stable. Ultimately, there's still a lot of shaking, and I understand that it gets difficult to watch at points, and that's why I give you the other graphics. If it gets too shaky over there, just look at the little Friday 5K guy running on the GPS. Then you don't have to worry about it. Oh, that black spot there in the back, that's an old truck. I get a kick out of that. That's another thing that takes you out of, or puts you in the reality of where you're actually at. I don't know how it gets out in the woods, but that black spot there just over that guy's shoulder was a truck that's been out there for years. So making this video and thinking about racing gets me, again, thinking about next summer and the future of Friday 5K, and I have some ideas. And even though I said I'd let it go, and I don't mean to be the boy that cried wolf, but I guess that works the opposite. I'd much rather say I'm canceling and then hosting a few Friday 5Ks, as opposed to say I'm going to host Friday 5Ks and then cancel. Though I guess I've done that a few times with the Woodsy Hour run. Anyway, not relevant. Yeah, at this point, I'm excited about racing, and I'm already missing the summer and having an entire winter ahead. So I think that if you've made it this far, you get a bit of an announcement that I probably will find my way to doing some Friday 5Ks. I don't think I'll ever do 10 in a season again. And probably what I'm leaning towards is the last prime numbered Friday of the main summer months. So that'd be probably one in June, July, August, and possibly even September. 4 seems doable, 3 seems more likely, 1 seems almost certain. And the beauty about prime numbered Fridays, even if I pick the last prime numbered Friday of the month, is every month is guaranteed to have a prime numbered Friday except for February. And even then, the vast majority of Februaries have a prime numbered Friday. So, having them on prime numbered Fridays guarantees us that there's one a month every month in the summer. And I'm thinking that's the way I'm going to go. Don't quote me on it. And not that you'd care anyway. We're quickly approaching the area where I'm not sure I took the right turn. I don't know if this was the way back. I don't know where Richard and Steve went. I'm assuming they went this way. Mostly because one of the 5K runners that we passed said, "Catch that Pilgrim," so I'm assuming they went the same way. But I lost them. That's that main intersection. I don't know if you're familiar with Coast Guard Park, where like 4 trails come together. And there, you can see in the GPS, there's another trail that we already traveled to get to that intersection when we started. I don't know if we were supposed to go back down that trail or go down this trail that I'm on. The one I'm on is, I think, 0.45 miles back to the next intersection. The other one was 0.35 miles, but supposedly more difficult. I don't know which one we were supposed to be on, but this one looked like where all the 5Kers went, so I assumed that that's where we were supposed to go. But I really have no idea because the arrows were obviously covered with snow at this point. Anyway, it's nice not to backtrack. Ultimately, there's no real way to get back to the trailhead without doing a little backtracking. Well, there's some non-marked trails, I suppose. Man, I really do love that trail system, though. The North Ottawa Dunes Trail System, I guess is what it's technically called, but you always get to it from Coast Guard Park, so it's easy to call it Coast Guard Park Trails. I don't think people realize who live in West Michigan just how fortunate they are to have trail systems like this, especially this one. I know there's some others, North Muskegon and I think some farther south, that take you right along the lakes like that, because living on the east side of the state and only getting to race and visit the west side, you quickly learn that there's nothing quite like it. Though I did discover a trail system just around the corner from my house this summer, and it had a race this fall, a half marathon, and I don't mean to pick on race directors, and I really shouldn't, but oh, I tell you, I paid $70 for the race, came in second, and the award for second place was a power bar. Homemade power bar. Now, I'm not poo-pooing the power bar, and ultimately I ate it after admiring it on my trophy stand, my dresser. Hey, a 5K-er, look at that. Anyway, so I admired my power bar and then ate it. It did not taste like $70, I will tell you that. Anyway, that trail system was decent, but rock covered. I mean, it's used by mountain bikers, and I really dislike sharing trails with mountain bikers. Nothing against mountain bikers. They need a place to go too, but it just leaves me feeling less at peace than another 5K than I do when it's just runners. But you know, walkers who are walking their dog probably feel the same about us runners, tearing through, getting their dogs all riled up, and so on, so forth. Oh. We're at the top of this ridge here. What I just came up was a double hill. That one always fools you. You come up a hill and then there's another hill when you get about halfway up. But this ridge up here at the top, it's got to be one of my favorite places. It is just this beautiful narrow ridge that makes me feel like I'm on a, I forget what they're called, hover cycle, like you saw, like in Star Wars. Nothing quite like it. It's a great location to run. I only wish it could be a little longer. Footing conditions by this point were less than ideal. We'd already been through this once on the way out, and you know, I was treading virgin snow, and now we're down to the leaves. The snow's packed, and the stabilizer muscles in my calves are just going crazy trying to stop me from spraining ankles. But it worked out all right. It was still a good time. If you're a race director and want me to make one of these videos at your race and you're in West Michigan, and I suppose even to a limited extent in East Michigan, I'd be happy to come to your race. Go to my website, fridayfivek.com, and look for the contact information, and send me the request, and maybe we can work something out. Another 5K. I realize why all of a sudden I'm looking at the skies, because that's a pretty significant hill to climb. Oh, there is the tree. That tree in the background. We're almost done here, but when I coordinated a race here in the summer of 2013, I put a little orange paint on that tree and felt so guilty about it. And my buddy, Chad, he gave me grief every time he and his girlfriend walked by that tree because it had a little bit of orange chalk paint. Not even real paint, just chalk. Anyway, we're almost done here. About to get down to the end, so I'm going to sign off and let you finish the race with Steve and Richard and the gentleman who I didn't catch his name who was behind us most of the way. You'll kind of see what happens. We're not quite sure where the race ends. It all works out. Steve's the winner, gets to wear the Pilgrim outfit next year. It was a great time. Pilgrim's Prance, 4th edition, 2013. Looking forward to next year. Hey, great job. Did you keep your title?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Good to see you again.
You too. You alright?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay. What'd you lose?
This little metronome that beeps. Keeps my cadence for me.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
We won our division. I don't know what that is, but...
Is this the end of both races?
I think so. Yeah. I hope so.
I don't know. Not a lot of 5Kers staying here. I thought you said something about everybody finishing up at the...
That's where they marked it.
Well, my car's up there anyway.
Here's your chance to pass.
Yeah, I'm good.
Time. That's where it was last time.
Oh, it's not like we were setting PRs.
Yeah, thank God. The head stayed on.
That's awesome. I think the course was pretty well marked
Yeah, not bad
for all the snow, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was here last night and there was paint all over the ground. Yeah, I know. There was hitting the trees. They said it was supposed to. Flags didn't really. They stuck it yesterday, didn't stick it out. Stick out at all.
Right.